helpful to my teammates.
Nice. All right, we are now live on Twitch, and you will see me do a screen share here in Discord. Oh, no. I do want video, but I don't want to stream just Heroes Machine. Okay, that would help if I hit the right button. Okay, now I'm live in Discord as well. I'm going to be doing a lot of the screen share stuff. Now, I will tell you, and I'll show you really quick even, if you go onto YouTube and you type Infernal Shrines Guide, there is going to be a ton of content. Some of it from as little as 4 months ago, other stuff that's years and years old. Um, we're not going to dive into that stuff right now. I'm going to be sharing you a lot of my experiences and my opinions, and I imagine Hector will do the same. And if you want to explore those things, I'm going to put together we'll call it a top 5 list of videos I think you should watch for it. But there's a wealth of content about Infernal Shrines. So, but as I said before we started the recording, Infernal Shrines is probably the most popular map in competitive play or coordinated play, however you want to term that. The the map itself is fairly straightforward. You've got 3 objective points that are always random, and colors, yellow's nice and visible, and we can see those easily enough with their shrine circles. Now, one thing that is very nice about it is Blizzard has added in to where you'll see where the objective is going to be long before it spawns, and then there's the 30-second countdown to when the game will actually spawn that. We also know the time. The first objective is going to spawn at 3 minutes. That is static amongst most of the maps. The only maps that are going to be different in that regard are going to be like Braxis and Dragonshire, where it's not so much a collect the objective, but it is a, hey, this is a, you have to channel multiple points objective. So, um, I I am of the belief that you can almost always give the first objective on shrines and get more value elsewhere, unless it's a frozen Punisher. Well, that's true. There's 3 types of Punishers. I should have gone over that. I started notes and I never really got them organized, so I apologize that I'm probably going to bounce around more than I meant to. Um, there's 3 types of Punishers. The first is going to be Frozen, as far as pushing power. The most deadly is Mortar, because if you can catch someone in a series of mortars, you can kill most non-tanks just from the mortars and minor follow-up. For the tanks, if you have a team collapse on a Punisher jump and a mortar volley, the tank will die. Period. End of story. And then finally, there is the old most powerful Punisher, being the the one that does the arcane orbs. It's just called an arcane Punisher. And that one, they toned down the damage. It used to be far more threatening. So we know that's going to happen at 3 minutes. So before 3 minutes, what does our map look like? So going back to our colors, again, I like the yellow. What I will say is the standard strategy for this map is you have your 4-man rotate is going to come here to A. Ooh, that's about the steadiest A I'll write all day from my mouse.
Nice.
And then, oh yeah, this thing resets on me a lot with, dang it. Down here is B, because apparently I've got a wall right there that I didn't know about. But down here is B. Colors, white, B. So what you'll want to do in that, and colors green, C. You can have people that can double soak AC, but it's far more simple to double soak AB. And your pathing is going to be rather simple there as well. Your squishies go here, and your tank goes either here or here, depending on one, who your tank is, two, where you just saw the enemy. There'll be times, and I could show you replay examples, where you'll actually see me as a tank come and do this bush right here becomes my home, because my goal is not necessarily to soak the experience. The three man of healer damage should have that on absolute lockdown and not need me. But if I can delay the enemy rotation, so if I beat the enemy tank in here and I can take this bush, now I can see if the enemy tank, oh, can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. I was thinking, oh, snap, I'm pointing at stuff and they don't see squat. If I can beat the enemy tank inside this shrine, now I have the choice of going to this bottom bush or going to this bush. If I'm going to stop the enemy from getting the the wave clear and slow them down, I'm going to do that most effectively from their side bush rather than the center bush. Because if I can delay 3 or 4 people, that's huge. And if it's just the tank down here, there's no kill pressure. There's not a single tank in the game that at level 1 can kill my 3 man. It just doesn't happen. And if, say, for example, I'm Johanna and I use a shield glare, nice little triangle shape, they can't dodge in this space. And I'm going to dismount them and run away. If their tank tries to engage on me, I'm going to use Iron Skin. It doesn't matter. And so one concept that you'll hear me use all the time is that of stick and move. I still want to be on shrines. And so we come here to A, we run down here to B, we come back up here to A, and now, because of how the waves crash, because the minion waves are always going to crash middle first until Blizzard decides to do something funky, we have enough time that we can capture all 6 globes here, come down and capture all 7 globes here, and depending on our comp versus theirs, if we've drafted sufficient wave clear, we're going to be able to have that absolutely cleared, and now we start denying them in some way. Depending on who your healer and who your damage is, you'll see CCS runs a lot of Rhaegar. So Wits loves to go take camps by himself. You'll see Wits sometimes take the bottom camp. Hey, it worked for me. You'll see him take the top camp. But at that point, it's my job as the tank to either anchor in the bush, maybe. Yeah, I still think the yellow shows up really well. Anchor in the bush, or if we know where the enemy 4-man is, I could be anchoring here, or even, I mean, I've been known to be there plenty. There's not a lot of times I'm sitting in this one during a rotation phase, because if I'm on the edge of this, I can get here just as fast, but I can also pick up some experience globes and run away. But this, we want to be on the left camp, if we're left side, at 1 minute. All 5 camps spawn at 1 minute. And so we do that stick and move. A, B, A, 1 minute. B, A, and if we're ahead enough, we take the neutral camp. One of the mantras that you'll hear me talk about is we do safe things when it's dangerous, and we do dangerous things when it's safe. I don't know why that was so hard for me to remember. The idea being, if this is our 50-yard line, albeit it would be more straight than that, we don't really have to cross the 50-yard line and do something scary until we've got some sort of an advantage. Now, how we get that advantage in the early game is we out-rotate them. we slow them down on their rotations, we get the waves cleared faster. And so now, rather than spending our energy clearing waves, we're ahead a whole rotation. We catch somebody as they're rotating because we've got the advantage. It's safe for us to do something dangerous. And we've we create that by owning this area and having that rotation. Our solo laner up top, we love them. We don't really want to have to hear from them at all before the first objective phase. Their job is to not die, not dying is winning, and to soak all the experience. I had a game the other day where I was amazed at how much of our wall the Rexar player had lost, but what the Rexar player hadn't done was lost any experience or die. And he was going up against, I think it was Asmodan, who does siege a lot. Like, he can be back here and just drop his globe over there if he wanted to. So, um, but that's our goal for that first few minutes. And with this map, you should be level 7 or right around it when the first objective hits. And if you get a kill at all during the rotations, we just talked about it in the last training, this is the goal of the whole game, right? And so the way we get to that is by knocking out this, this, and this in any of the lanes. So if we get a kill, so we kill someone right here, the answer is not this camp. The answer instead is we got this kill here, we take out one of these turrets here. And for me, I talk about what I call priority turrets. So they're easier than you think. It's just the top turret in each lane because this is close to the shrine in each lane. And so by knocking that out, it now makes it so that you're able to defend this area, but now you have all of this space that you don't get shot in, where before you lost a little bit of it. And so by extending that space to where now you have more area to be safe in, that's a big deal. The shrines are best accessed, all three of them, from their bottom vent area. I suppose that one's a little wider. Not to say that people can't come from the others, but this choke is way easier to defend. And if you hold this one and you have your minion wave going, it makes it so you force the team to either come through here. I've died to a lot of Moshes in that space. It makes it so the team has to come here. Again, very narrow, very dangerous. So if you control this bottom space with your tank and you've got your bruiser perhaps in the top space, if you see them coming, your tank can either rotate to the right space or up to help the bruiser, and now you take a fight on your terms. You initiate, you throw out all your AE, whether it's your Flame Strike or your Blizzard or your Blessed Shield, something. You're just going to wallop them. And so by knocking out the top cannon tower in each lane, you're making it so you control the lane underneath the shrine that much more easily. And so that's why I believe that's a priority turret. Now, is it that big of a deal? No, turrets don't do that much damage. They don't have infinite range. But we want to kill turrets so that we can kill forts. We want to kill forts so we can kill keeps, so we can kill the core. Any questions at this point? Because frankly, my mouth's getting dry and I need a pause.
Really enjoying the content.
Okay. Now, one of the videos I'm going to show you, Veggies talks about this. They see that the shrine's going to be here. So to set up for that shrine, what they did was before the shrine was called, because they saw it on their map, they came in and just slaughtered this fort. They had their camp and they were pushing with it, and the enemy team had to make a decision, and that was, do we defend the fort or do we show up to the shrine on time? The enemy team stalled a little bit, and indecision is one of the worst things for you in this game. Because the enemy team stalled, Gilly Shark, who is Veggie's team, takes this fort. They also take this camp, at which point they peace out, because now they get to the objective, maybe not right on time, but still before their opponents. Their opponents have to make the choice of, do we defend this keep or do we get to the objective on time? The answer is, you just lost, because both of those are losing scenarios. If I defend the keep, I lose the objective. If I go to the objective, I lose the keep. And so one of the examples that I have from my games that I'm going to show you is one of those. But Veggie's video, he's right in here as a Nubarak. And the reason that they can defend just from the top is because they just saw all 5 members show up here. Not the greatest 5, we'll get over it. And so now we know the enemy team isn't going to come and go like here, because at that point they're going to lose the objective. By the time the enemy team gets there, Gilly Shark as a team are sitting somewhere in that 15 to 20 shrine minions. You need 40 to cap if anybody's unaware of that number. It also shows you down here in the bottom right by your minimap. And so they're already at 20, which is just a massive lead. At that point, if they need to go out and tap, the shrine minions never spawn a full 20 at a time. And so it's not that for 5 seconds, boom, your lead's wiped out, they're going to catch up. And so they just have this massive advantage. Because he's a Nubarak, he actually walks out, drops a beetle, which then walks forward and dismounts people. They either have to dismount to kill the beetle, or they have to avoid the beetle, which takes them more time, or the beetle hits them and dismounts them. And so it's a rather annoying feature of a Nubarak in that scenario, similar like if a Johanna stepped up and used shield glare to dismount everybody, big win. You could do that with Garrosh, who, side note, Garrosh does not throw shrine minions, and most people ignore that fact. So they think, oh, Garrosh is going to throw this shrine minion and I'll be fine. No, he's about to throw you. Shrine minions are coded as monsters. Garrosh cannot throw monsters, except currently with a bug on Hanamura Temple.
That's a mercenary. You can throw mercenaries.
No, it's an elite mercenary, so it counts as a monster.
No, it is a mercenary that has permanent unstoppable.
Oh. Nice.
You can tell because things that deal bonus damage to it definitely deal bonus damage to it. You just can't CC it. However, ally abilities which move allies can affect unstoppable allies, which is why Into the Fray works on the Genji camp.
Yeah, it's banned in NGS. It might be banned in Heroes Lounge, but I'm not totally connected there. And so, because they had just this complete vision of the enemy team, they were able to set up here, get a huge advantage, and I'll send everyone the video afterwards, but very powerful. I do want to show a couple of examples here. And that means I need to go here and go to display capture instead, I believe. Oh, wait a second. I need to hide clip. That's what it is. Okay. This is a... Okay. This is a match from NGS. You can see it's my team can't counterpick stupid versus 10 armor. What I'm going to show you here is we checkmate 10 armor. This is cast by Linehouse. And volume, here we go. Can everybody
turn the
hear
video
it okay?
quality up?
Got that camp going.
Maybe?
Looks like CCS is going to go up to clear that.
I cannot hear the audio.
Okay.
All other lanes are pushed in. So 10 armor can't really capitalize on that top lane. But I guess if they can get the standard Arthas build.
Okay, so we are ahead 16s, and they're going up to the shrine. You can see we have a fort there, and they don't. They also don't have a fort here in the bottom. And I suppose the commentary is probably not the most important thing from Linehouse. And so we make the call of, we're just going to go bottom. You can see them starting to split off, and we just siege. And we open it up. Well, it pulls them off the shrine. Fast forward. Oh, a botched team fight. We get Cupcake, it looks like. Oh, he got away. Sorry, I thought I had queued up the right time, but I apparently got myself twisted in a few knots. So we know they're going to prioritize the shrine here. But we're not terribly worried about the shrine because we've got the fort. Let's see, does it... Oh, Linehouse didn't show. Okay, purple, so it's an arcane punisher that's coming. So we ignore the shrine, we take all 3 bottom camps. We even have our Lunara, who I'm going to assume is Osprey in this case, picks up the top right camp. Ooh, not a lot of health, but they leave the shrine to deal with us. And we play this extremely slow. Because now we have pressure in all 3 lanes, and we see all 5 of them.
If anyone is wondering what 10 armor should have done in that case, probably they should have backed with 4 and left Leoric on point. That way they still probably defend the keep. Under a keep, 4 versus 5 is a fight you can take. And leaving Leoric on point means that they would have gotten the objective, and they would at least have gotten that counter pressure in top lane.
Yeah. So now you can see we've got the camp over here pushing in. Thank you, Linehouse. Though it was probably, what, Falendrith on the camera. So we just have to keep them here. Orpheus splits off, but you can see this is falling anyway. And so there are times where ignoring the objective, you will get more value. If they had capped the objective, our top fort is gone, and we would have had to back to defend the keep. Instead, we get top keep, we get bottom keep, we had enough pressure mid that they kept having to deal with it there, and I've got to think this is the end of the game if I'm... Yeah. We get another kill, and we just finish. So there are times when the objective is the wrong answer. Okay, that one's done. Close this. This next one, sadly, I do not have the video of. So just looking at our comps here, you can see we have Madathi on Tyrande, not exactly a siege hero. Muradin, who can be a siege hero, but I don't think I actually... Let's see. Talents. Yeah, I'm not a siege build as Muradin here. You can see they outkilled us. This, and then we have Thorn on Chromie. We have Kerrigan and Zarya. Not exactly a traditional siege comp. Same scenario plays out. We've got mid fort is low, but not dead. And we have top fort alive, and they're going for the Punisher. What happened in this scenario, and I'll come back to Mad Buddha's tool. So we... Colors...
The replay file looked like it was attached there. You might be able to download it and play it. Or is it the one that's really old?
Yeah, this one's a year old. So okay. That's why I don't have it. So they are 5 people up here. We, and Kerrigan was like back on this camp, and I'm yelling at RTB, no, get here. So we hit this fort with 3 people and just slowly whittle it away. And they're working on the shrine. Finally, by keep wall, we're 5. We melt through cannon tower and wall and just go right onto the keep. And by this point, they're starting to say, okay, they're making progress, but this is weird. They start to back. We have the absolute 3-pointer owl from Madathi comes through, and he hits Gul'dan. Now, the reason Gul'dan in particular is important is because of Horrify, but it hits Gul'dan and one other person because of Pierce and stops them from backing. That 6 seconds meant that even though we were down level 15 when we started, we hit 16 by the time we end. We just crashed through fort, part of keep wall, keep, and core, and we ended the game. And the caster Svenla was so blown away by it. We should not have won, but they no longer had the tools to kill us because they reacted slowly enough that they were like, okay, we're going to send some people back, but not everybody. And then by the time they said, no, we have to send everybody back, and we got the interrupt, it was too late in that case. Okay.
Then the correct answer for Behold Ragaros in that situation is similar to the previous game. As soon as they saw Can't Counterpick Stupid pushing in the mid lane, leave, in this case Blaze, because it was a year ago when he was still a solo laner, leave Blaze on the objective to get the Shrine minions and have everybody else push in the top lane, because that will at least put them even or slightly behind on the actual siege damage, but they had a Greymane, so they had really good siege damage. But it'll also set up the lane that's going to have the Punisher come in through it, and probably CCS can't just push in and end before Behold Ragaros are able to be threatening something similar as well. So in this map,
that, but you again saw our heroes weren't exactly siege heroes, which also means we're going to have trouble defending against a Punisher. You need siege heroes to siege and to kill a Punisher.
If the enemy team isn't trying to fight you on point, you only need one person on point, and it should usually be your bruiser.
Correct.
Generally, your bruiser is the person that can take the Shrine minions the best, but they can also have the generally best chance of surviving if the enemy team does rotate into the objective at a later point. And then you just take your 4-man and push down the closest lane while the enemy team is off doing something else. Especially the lane that is going to have the Punisher in it if you win. Because getting the initial damage in there before the Punisher means you can push better with the Punisher later.
My replay file seems to have crashed. So I've lost that. But so I wish I could zoom this and not have it just be this part. Dang it, Mad Buddha, that part should have been better. Okay, and I hate the heroes because they're so small of icons. So one thing that we talked about and Hector was describing there as well. So again, I'm the left team. We've just killed one member of their team. If we've killed one member of their team and we're here on top shrine, I as a tank, at worst case scenario, am standing in this bush. But really, if we've killed one member of their team, we as a team, I don't like the green, it's not bright enough. We as a team keep sieging here and occupying their 4-man, while our bruiser, and in that case it doesn't necessarily have to be a bruiser if we're all 5 there, but say it's Sonya, say it's Leoric, both of those people have decent shrine clear because of their ability to hit in an area and decent ways to escape. And so we have one person on the shrine. I mean, it could be Greymane, it could be Kael'thas, it could be your healer. Your healer just sucks at shrine clear.
Shouldn't be the healer. You want the healer at the 4-man.
Correct. I'm just saying one person back here on the shrine. You definitely do want the healer with the 4-man because that's how you stay alive in the 4-man. But now, in that time, it's what I'm going to refer to as softening up the lane. If it's first objective and we get that kill and we remove these 2 cannon towers while our solo laner picks up the shrine, that means that our Punisher is guaranteed this keep, short of us being just absolute mistakes we got clowned on by the other team. But if we soften up that wall, we take out the cannon towers, now the enemy team is going to get jumped and we're going to be able to follow up on it. The Punisher, while everyone says, oh, the Punisher has bad siege, no, it just has ADHD. It still does a fair amount of damage, and with us there with it now as a 5-man, even though the enemy death is going to have respawned by that time, this fort is gone. So if we can get that kill right before an objective, and again, we know when the objectives are because they announce. There's even a respawn timer that you can memorize, but it announces. Like, you'll have that warning. But if we can execute a gank right beforehand, now we soften up this lane. If we get 2 kills at that point, I'm typically sending someone to double soak these 2 lanes. I've had it be Nazebo to get stacks. I've had it be Zool, Malthael, Sonya, Diva, Gazlo just to get the additional pressure. Because at that point, the 3-man is still going to be able to soften this, and we're going to skyrocket ahead on experience from down here. Reset lines, not heroes. But if I've had multiple times where if there is a shrine here and we have this fort, but they don't have this fort, we will go and crack this keep. And we don't even usually have to send 5 people to do it. If you have someone who's a great defensive hero like Diva, Diva can stay up here and keep the enemy from sieging with defense matrix, with boosters. It's just her kit, right? And we go siege. You don't want to leave somebody like Greymane up here, for example, because Greymane's going to be your primary siege down here and doesn't really have any defensive tools besides if I hurt them enough, they'll back off. But
Greymane's okay because he's got really good shrine clear, and if as long as you stay in Worgen form, the disengage is a decent tool if you have vision of them coming.
Oh, no. I mean, the enemy team is on the shrine, and Greymane's defending here. That doesn't really work.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, if we're giving the shrine to take a keep, I will give up keep for fort or fort for keep any day. But what I don't want to do is give up fort and keep to get their keep. That's a bad trade. We're all about winning trades. Yeah, Greymane's great on the shrine. Kerrigan's great on the shrine. Kael'thas is great on the shrine. Sonya, Gazlo, especially Gazlo right now. Gazlo's first pick, first ban, as far as I'm concerned. Just absolutely crazy. But if I can do some of those things, the map is large enough that the enemy team usually can't commit to both. If I do have somebody like Diva up here in the top lane and they send 4 people to respond to me here, this is Diva's best map. Diva is now going to charge in after their bruiser, harass them like crazy, and eventually she's just going to self-destruct on the shrine and get the last 5 to 10 shrine defenders for us. So it's definitely a game of cat and mouse that you can play that we've been really successful with, but it's measuring some of the costs. If I'm giving up a fort for a keep, that's a cost I'm okay with. If I'm giving up keep for a keep, I'd rather fight for the shrine. If I get a kill, I don't care about camps. Camps become weaker and weaker as the game goes on. Hector can tell you of a couple of mistakes I made in a loss on this map. We had, and it was within the last couple weeks, I think it was Annie Oak League. We had the Punisher, and I told somebody to defend the camp that was right here. We could have ignored the camp and gotten a kill off of a Punisher jump here and probably gotten everything structure-wise in this area. And that was a mistake I made. The next mistake I made, we rotated and got a beautiful gank on either Malthael or Thrall. I can't remember who it was. And then I said, let's go kill this keep. We wouldn't have needed to kill the keep if we had played it right before. And it was level 20 and we just executed a gank. It's time to come up here, which is where the shrine was, and take a 5v4 because now the shrine's free for us. And when that bruiser respawns, now it's a 6v5 because we're going to have John Cena on our team. But the map is a blast to play. It's one of the reasons it's the most popular. Sure, you get those heretics every once in a while that are like, oh, I hate this map. We play it all the time. And I don't know what to say to them. It's one of the more balanced maps. It's one of the more intriguing maps. There's a lot of different strategies. Hector won't like this next comment, but it's actually one of the best maps for Juice Pirates. Because if you get John Cena here and you medevac here, well now, which are they going to defend?
If you're Juice Pirates, you shouldn't be getting John Cena in the first place.
But you can. You absolutely can. Because it's Juice Pirates is not a terrible team fight comp. They just tend to lean so hard on the objective, or the building siege.
I'm loving the dynamic between the two of you.
That's fine. And Hector, I don't mean to ever be too negative. I don't feel that you are to me either. But Hector and I have known each other for a couple years through NGS. I think Hector is a fantastic healer player, and the worst comment that Hector ever gave to me in the nicest way was, "Valk, you're the most timid Anubarak I've ever played with." And we had just lost and I got hammered. Like, I don't think it was my best Anubarak game, but I said to Osprey, like, that cut me to the core, because it wasn't mean spirited. Like, he was trying to give me actionable feedback on, you're playing too timidly, let's move forward. And I was just like, oh man, it was from someone I respect. It was spot on, and I hate it, and it's totally true, and I need to fix that.
Also, I like to time out Valk in every Twitch channel that I'm a mod in, and I'm a mod in a lot of them. So
yeah,
if Valkymer is ever getting timed out in chat, it's probably me.
It may be because even though I don't really have a stake in the great Pokemon Sheep War, of whatever you guys call it,
The Woolly Wars.
The Woolly Wars, I side on the opposite side from Hector for the memes, and so I've gotten timed out in a few channels because of that. So.
All right, you want to talk about what to do with and against the Punisher next?
Sure. There's also a video about baiting the Punisher and when to do that I'll send out as well. But go ahead, Hector.
Cool. So first, I will talk about what to do when you win the Punisher. And it sort of depends on how many people are alive on both teams afterwards. If you are even or ahead on players, for the first 2, maybe 3 Punishers, because the Punisher is only an okay pushing objective, it's still very often correct to rotate out one person to soak the other 2 lanes while you're pushing. Most often this will be either a bruiser or someone that doesn't do siege particularly well on buildings. So Sonya is great for this. Diva and Leoric are both great for this. Yeah, generally a decent wave clear bruiser or melee assassin will be double soaking the other 2 lanes, or at least covering one of the 2 lanes. It's harder to double soak from the mid lane, but XP from minions is worth so much in the early game that you really want to make sure you're catching at least one of those other 2 lanes. As the core group of heroes that are pushing with the Punisher, the first thing that you want to do is get a wall down. Usually this will be one of the side walls, either the upper or lower side wall, because they have a lot less hit points than the gate, but if the gate has already taken damage from the laning portion of the game, you can get that down as well. And
I'm trying to follow you with lines as best I can, Hector. So
I'm seeing it.
Okay.
You really want to follow up on the Punisher's jumps. The Punisher has a jump which does a 1-second stun. Every 15 seconds is the cooldown for it. It has it has an initial cooldown of 5 seconds, but after that it can jump anytime that a hero gets within range, which is actually pretty long. It's I think just shorter than Sergeant Hammer's sieged auto attack range, so it's pretty long. And you want to get your tank up into range to follow up on that CC. Because it's just so incredibly easy to get a kill if the initial crowd control is coming from that jump, because it's hard to react to. Like, the amount of time that passes between when the Punisher leaves the ground and when the stun hits is actually really short. So if you can get that follow-up CC and get a kill, I'm sorry for my dogs, if you can hear that back there.
I'm sorry for my poor art skills for John Cena here in the green.
It's truly beautiful.
If you're able to get a kill, that makes it much more likely that you're going to get significant damage done in the early game. Valkymer was kind of mentioning earlier, often the first Punisher doesn't secure a fort if you don't get a kill either during the fight over the objective or off of a Punisher jump. it just doesn't do that much siege damage. So you really want to try and find a pick during that portion of the game to try and leverage that to at least get the fort or some other significant damage done. On the other side, when you're defending against the Punisher, it's your job to not let that happen. So hear a lot of people talking about baiting the Punisher jump. This is when you hit the Punisher with some amount of damage so that it aggroes onto you, and then use an unstoppable so that you can't actually get stunned and then followed up on by the enemy team. Tanks like Johanna and Garrosh are extraordinarily good for this because you have a built-in unstoppable button, or at least Garrosh almost always talents into it. But you can actually use your Gladiator's Medallion for this, and it's not the worst usage in the world. If you've got good coordination with your healer player, you can do it with Anduin Leap of Faith. You can technically do it with Brightwing, but that puts you into a really risky spot because you might get splashed with the jump and then you're both in a bad spot. But
you also
definitely
can use
Johanna and Garrosh
to get away from it.
You can, but it's really risky if you don't use a true unstoppable. Like Li Ming can if you hit it with an orb or missiles and immediately blink, but then you run the risk of mistiming it or missing and then getting stunned and killed.
Yeah.
But that is one of the reasons why Johanna and Garrosh are so good on this map. They're both great for interrupting rotations, like Valk was saying before, especially Garrosh in that role, because Garrosh on a horse is like a top 5 scariest heroes in the game if you're not also on a horse. But also just the ability to bait the Punisher jumps is huge because it puts the Punisher into a position where it's getting hit by the fort and the front wall, but also it gets it away from the enemy team. So when you're putting damage into the Punisher, they can't be putting damage into you as easily.
One reason that I feel that Johanna works so well isn't just her Iron Skin Unstoppable, but also her Shield Glare. You have to have the Punisher have vision of you, and so if you're trying to get it to jump over a wall, if your wall's intact, you're not going to get the Punisher to jump until it sees you. Otherwise, it will just keep hitting minions and walls. And so Shield Glare, you can tell everybody to get away from you. You've got this long distance ability so the enemy team can't follow up, and then you have Iron Skin. There's times, like if it's an arcane Punisher and I'm getting enough of a jump with a healthy enough wall, I'm not going to use my Unstoppable because the jump itself is going to do that damage regardless of whether I have Iron Skin up or not. And if the enemy team can't follow up with it, and I'm not going to get hit by a frozen orb or a mortar volley, I'm just going to have it jump me, and then I've got my Iron Skin for the fight that's about to happen when that enemy does break through. One thing, because I know we're probably getting close on time, is if you have a Punisher in this area, I guess it would never really, I mean, it could jump behind. One, the Punisher doesn't freeze, even frozen, doesn't freeze the core. But if you've already lost this keep, pull it up, bring it to this keep. If you can get it between these two keeps and both the keeps fire on it for a second before it resets and starts sieging, that's a win. And that's going to help because now you have the core and a keep hitting it. Because likely if it's jumping in this area, you've already lost this keep. Go ahead, Hector, sorry.
No, that was it for what I wanted to say about pushing with and defending. Although I would also mention that if you have a good team for defending, like if you've got Jim Raynor with Executioner and maybe a solid mage on the defense, you can also, especially again during the first and second Punishers, you can afford to split your Bruiser out to go take the off lanes and keep up on that XP. Because honestly, in the early game, XP is just the most important thing in the world. Making sure that you're consistently soaking lanes is hugely important.
You will win in low ranks just off of that stick and move at the beginning, because you will get so far ahead on soak that now you're taking fights up 2 to 3 levels, which is huge. Okay, I just found one more to find the clip. Oh, maybe this isn't it. No, this is the wrong one. This is the more recent one. I think so. Yeah. All right. What I wanted to go over with it, and I can bring us back to here, is what do you do if you're behind on Infernal Shrines? So the clip I was going to show you is against Clouded Minds. We still had our keep. We didn't have our fort, and we knew we were going to lose the objective. We were down level 20s, and what we did was we soft cleared 2 of the lanes. And what I mean by that, so this is gone, this is gone. We only have our keeps. We're going out and we're letting the minions kill each other. If there's a catapult, we clear the catapult, even though it's only worth 1 experience, which sucks. But I understand why from a game philosophy. And the reason being is we don't want to allow them to build up any siege, but we don't want to make it so we have to soak out here. We want to be able to soak right in this area. So we soak, we soak, we soak. And then they finish the objective. We managed to cram all 5 of us into this vent and go for a Hail Mary. Star Knight even catches us in the vent with Chastise from Anduin comes in. Weenus is like right here. I'm Garrosh. I pop Unstoppable as like right as the root is going to hit me, and all hell breaks loose in this moment. I managed to kill Junkrat, who was Weenus, and the team gets enough kills that we come back, and the Punisher, I don't even think we had the wall at that point. I think the wall was gone. But the Punisher still has to go through a healthy keep and a healthy core. And so you passively soak, you keep it from building up, but you don't want to push the soak to the scary side of the map, because at that point this part of the map was included in the danger zone for us. Because if we went into this area and they were up 20s and caught us in a fight, we lost the game. So we cram in this vent and pull off a miracle team fight. We clear the thing, and it's got 50% health on the core, maybe 60. I'll try to find the thing and clip it. And we end up staying in the game. Once you hit level 20, both teams, it's now a coin flip. It's who's going to win the last team fight. And so we ended up winning some team fights. We had a fantastic Silence and Tomb by Deathshade right about there, and we finished the game. But if you're behind and you can find ways that you can get soak and not give the enemy soak, you want to do that. If that means that you send a double soaker here and your 4-man just tries to keep their 5-man up here, okay, it sucks to lose the fort, but that's better than losing the fort and losing the experience if you can safely delay them. And so it's doing those different things to be able to help out. There's little Valk asking for the phone, which I quickly gave up to be able to continue this conversation. But and that's true on most maps. If you just start passively soaking and you play careful with it, you get even on talent tiers, and then you make something happen, whether that's having somebody show in lane here while your team's right here, and then when they come in to gank them, you have the element of surprise. You have the vision. They gave up those resources to you. And it sucks to be in that position and nobody ever talks about it, but there's absolutely ways to still come back. And it could be this bush, which they checked. Star Knight happened to check this one too late. It could be hiding here, coming up through this vent, and when they pass, we had to wait for the Punisher to pass too, so that the Punisher didn't jump on us. And so the Punisher passed, we pounced on them, had this big fight. Eventually the fight got too spread out and the Punisher did see somebody like right in here, but it was Leoric and it didn't matter, he survived. But you have to try to fight behind it, and hopefully in the other map discussions they'll talk about ways to come back from behind on those maps as well. But soak is always your friend. If you're behind a major talent tier and you're even in numbers, you're gonna lose. So just soak instead and try to cut your losses. If you have a hero like Sylvanas, just siege the crap out of him instead. Like, see where you're going to make the trade in your favor, and that's where we want to execute. We're over time. I know that people are signed up for the next set of segments as well, so I don't want to overstep that, but you've got about 2.5 minutes for questions before you run to your next segment, if anybody would so desire. If anybody's even still there. I see everybody's muted.
Definitely here.
So
I wanna know, is it worth dying for the objective? If so, when?
how many people are going to die for it is one question you
Like
got to
one
ask.
person, for example, like it's we need 5 more guardians and the other team has still like 20.
Okay.
So is it worth for one person to go there and die for this 5?
So say we've already lost someone and we can't win the fight type of thing,
Yes.
and we've got 5 left. I would
Yes.
say most times I, as the tank, am still going to charge in there and try to do something heroic and finish it. And we start chanting at like 12 left. We need 12, we need 11, we need 10, we need 7. And if we're down to that we need 1, I'm going to lose the objective and they're going to get it at that point, right? If we back off. So if I have enough health that I think I can reasonably finish the objective and then die, I'm going to do it. Because at that point, they're going to at least have to finish off the Punisher instead of punishing our team for having lost one person and then 2 people. I did see that we've added some other players in the chat as well. Veggies, I've loosely referenced your video a couple of times. Ector and Veggies, what would you guys say in that same scenario?
I think it largely depends on other factors in the game. I think as a general rule, if it's 1 or 2, sure, it's probably worth giving up a hero because you reasonably have a high chance of getting it. If it's 5 or more, then there's a reasonable chance that you're not going to get it and die.
Yeah, they'll CC you to death and you'll just be the guy that charged in for nothing.
So, the other key is I would never do that for a first objective. It's too weak. You can almost always get more value out of a hero doing something, even if it's just soaking a lane, than you can dying for objective, especially if it's mortar. First mortar is by far like one of the weakest objectives in the game, and you should not even be afraid to give that objective and not even show up to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the mortar scale's something fierce.
But late game, yeah, it's totally worth it. If you can reasonably trade a hero for a late game objective, that's different then, because those can't be ignored particularly well. Yeah. The other main thing is, like, it depends what hero you're giving up. In general, giving up someone who can clear the Punisher is a lot riskier than someone who can't, because in the chance that you do die before you secure objective, then obviously defending it's going to be much harder.
Yeah. It also depends, I mean, and you're going to hear that phrase a lot throughout coaching stuff, because if, say, for example, they have fort and keep and we're dying for this one, but we have no fort and almost no keep wall, and we're going to leave our team with a 65-second death timer on 2 people, I'm taking that race if I'm the enemy team. You can have the Punisher. I'm going to kill your keep and kill your core, and your Punisher is going to beat my core or my fort up and maybe my keep at that point. So there's a ton of things in that question, But a lot of times, yeah, I'm doing it. I mean, if it's a frozen first Punisher, I probably would do it, even though veggies would tell me not to, because I'm like, oh, it's frozen. This is great. You guys siege. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. No
it is 6:00 Eastern. I know that we've got our next segments going up. It looks like there is a Volskaya and a Braxis in rooms 2 and 3 that I think most of our group is signed up for. Again, if those who are here, I'm going to build a quick little playlist of that, what I would refer to as the top 5 quick info videos, and maybe they're not quick, maybe one's a 40-minute video, but if you want more in-depth stuff on Infernal Shrines, if you want those little tidbits, I'm going to put some of those together and I can send that to you. But if you want that, go ahead and DM me through Discord and I'll make sure to get that sent out to you. So, but at this point, I got to kick you out so you make it to your next segments on time. Thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye.